Supposed to go live. We are live and in living color. Welcome, gentlemen, to the XY Perspective. I'm your host and founder, Marcus Bradley. The panel is all here. Marcus Massey, Andre Williams, Leonard Love, and Tony Simmons. Jesse Archer will be joining us soon. Um, Gentlemen, welcome. How's everybody been since the last call?
All
Good
is
to
well.
go.
Everybody good? You good?
The saying
I was
goes,
kind of
living a dream, living a dream.
living the dream, as Uncle Dre says. All right. Tonight's call is accountability versus responsibility. We're going to talk about the definitions of both and the differences between the two. A lot of people seem to think that there are the same things, but they are not, as we all know. So what we're going to do is go over needs and wants, actions and motions, and I threw in something new, training and teaching. So we got a couple of points that I want us to go across. The reason why this is so important for guys to understand is as you progress in life as a man, you may think you're responsible for a lot of things that you're actually not. But you may not think that you're accountable for a lot of things that you actually are. And if you don't know the differences between the two, then you'll find yourself lacking in a lot of areas. So that's what we're going to break down today is the differences between the two and the personal definitions of accountability and responsibility. If you guys are ready,
Yes, sir.
give me a thumbs up if you're good. Anything? Mr. Simmons, our our representative of prayer. Can you pray us in for us real quick, please? Are we losing? We lost. Wait, oh, he dropped out. Maybe he had a bad connection. I don't know. Well, we're going to move on, gentlemen. We're going head on. This question is for all of the panel members. If you guys are ready, I want
Right.
everybody can give me a response to this first question. Define accountability and define responsibility. Anybody can go first. Nobody?
Well, for me, I'm gonna go ahead and define accountability as you ever heard of that saying when you know better, do better?
Yes, sir.
That doesn't mean wait till tomorrow. It means immediately do something right then and there, right? To make the
Hmm.
change, do things right there, because whatever you say or do it has consequences to it. It affects somebody other than you, right? And so when you don't take the time to think about those things and you affect somebody adversely or even yourself, you got to take accountability for not doing the right thing in that situation, or hey, take accountability to say, look, I need to be in there doing something.
All right. All right. Everybody else, accountability.
Well, accountability is the after effect. Okay. Responsibility. We I guess we are taught to be responsible, right? But accountability is kind of the after effect of responsibility. In my opinion, I guess that's how I would sum it up.
Okay.
Yeah, I gotta agree. They they both fall in the category of cause and effect. Because you wasn't responsible, now you gotta be.
Okay. Because you weren't responsible, now you
Yeah,
have to be accountable.
that's
Yep.
that's a good way to put it. Yes, sir.
All right. All right. That's a good one. We didn't come up with that one last time.
I like that.
That's a good one. That is good. Simmons, Mr. Simmons.
For me, as you stated at the very beginning, learning later in life, accountability and responsibility for me are pretty much one in the same because, again, of how I was brought up and how I was raised. You accept responsibility because you're accountable for it. There were certain things we had to do growing up, uh, and that responsibility was mine, and I was accountable for it because I had to be the one to do it. and everyone
Okay.
had his or her part to do, and you did your part, and that was expected of you. And again, there were consequences for not doing and producing and coming forward with what it was that you were assigned to do. So accountability and responsibility kind of grew along with me, one and the same.
Yes, sir. Okay. And a lot of times we will come up with that we talking about the same thing, but without it being um, Webster's dictionary, I'll say as the same.
Hmm.
We are going to just keep moving with their differences. We're going to go down those differences because they can be thought of as the same thing, but we are here to get those differences. So try to get to those differences so we can, get the breakdown as deep as we want to go. What we came up with last time was that responsibility is more external, and accountability is internal, because you can be held responsible and given tasks to do that you're responsible for. Now, the person that oversees the doings of those tasks are the ones that will be held accountable, i.e., the boss at your job or the supervisor on your shift. They're held accountable for the success of the shift. You are responsible for your task on that shift. So responsibility is given tasks from an external source, and accountability is an internal source within you. Because that's going to lead us into our next questions. Can you teach someone to be accountable? If yes, how so? And if not, why not? And that goes to everyone on the panel, everybody on the panel. Can you teach someone to be accountable? Yes or no?
Absolutely, you can.
Yes.
Yep, you can.
Okay. If you can, how so?
Be the example.
Okay. Lead by example. Got it.
You can teach somebody to be accountable by giving them responsibility, tasks they can handle. That way, the accountability becomes more rewards as opposed to punishment.
Whoa, Mr. Livingston. So you said no butt whippings?
You gonna get those.
Okay, I'm just making sure. That we ain't talking about no butt whippings here, because butt whippings put a lot of people accountable and
I'm
men
about to say
responsible.
that's the currency of accountability, is that behind.
Oh, okay.
That is the currency of accountability, is that buttocks.
Yeah. Put your hand on that stove again.
All right. It sounds like someone's typing. If we're typing, if you're typing real loud, you got heavy fingers on your keyboard. Okay. Anyone else? If you can somebody else give me an example on how you can teach someone to be accountable.
Well, I think it's just like it was just said earlier. You have a roadmap, and very, very seldom we think about a roadmap for our kids, right? Like, hey, you know what? Hey, what is it that you want to do when you grow up? Okay, well, let's go ahead and build that roadmap. What type of man do you want to be when you grow up, or what type of woman you want to be when you grow up? Setting those roadmaps and really helping them to understand what it's going to take before they start going down the road of getting all the benefits of the fruit of their labors. They got to know what work needs to be put into it, and a lot of that is building that character and undergoing some things in order to say, hey, everything isn't always going to be all right. The world doesn't owe you anything.
Okay. Is that training or teaching?
I think there's a little bit of both. If you look at it, you can teach them all day long as well. It's going to be, you got to put things in place and situations in place for them to be trained for it, right?
Mm-hmm.
So like anytime you go to war, you teach the plan, then you go execute the plan, right?
Right. So teaching and training. Now, those are two different things. Those fall along the same line of accountable and responsible.
Yeah.
But we're going to get into those later too. So Still,
Well,
but sticking, huh?
I think you can teach. You can teach and train. I mean, I'm in that category where you can teach and train somebody to be accountable. Oh,
Okay. Now, training, I had it wrote down. Training is along the lines of, you know, showing someone what their responsibility is and going about a task over and over and over and over and over. Teaching is coming from that source of you're giving the knowledge to make yourself better. You know, you're gonna be a better person if you're accountable. You know, so you can teach someone that, and then you have to train them responsibility of their assigned task. That's just me. That's just my personal opinion. I don't. I mean, can you?
so
Did we
let
lose?
me ask you this. Let me ask
Yes,
you
sir.
this. So you're saying that you cannot train somebody to be accountable?
No, no, I didn't say that. You can teach someone to be accountable. You can train them to be responsible.
Yeah, I'm asking you, can you train somebody to be accountable? And if you can't, yeah, I don't I'd like to know why you can't.
I'm me personally. I think accountability comes from within, and responsibility comes from without. So yes, you can train someone. You can show them a task, and I'm gonna make you be responsible for just doing this. If you're a machine worker, and all you do is pull this lever every 30 seconds, you're responsible for pulling that lever every 30 seconds. But I have 10 employees, so I'm accountable for the overall thing, the overall equipment. So I have to show all of them and be responsible for their task. And now I'm accountable for them doing it right based on the training and teaching that I give them.
Mhm.
So I can train them to be responsible, but it's got to be in you to be accountable already. And then I can only develop it through teaching. Yes, sir. Mr. Leonard.
So accountable more by holding you accountable. A lot of
Okay.
people learn from their mistakes, their own mistakes. I can only teach you so much by me holding you accountable. And I'm just
Okay.
people I work with, my family. Like I said, you have to learn from so much of me holding you accountable. And I know when I get home, he gonna get on me about getting this D in this damn class. Oh, I ain't taking trash.
Excuse me, y'all. Is it just me, or is somebody
I hear
breaking
it.
up, or there's static somewhere?
Somebody type.
Yeah, it sounds like somebody's typing. That's what I was saying before. If you are either typing or check your signal to see. I'm gonna take the co-host out as well. All right. Hello. Are we still good?
Nothing came back. It's gone
Hmm.
now.
All right. I'm gonna also ask Uncle Dre if you can bring your picture on if you can, and when Mr. Massey comes back, we'll ask him the same way. Oh, he's back. Okay, I see. If you're on the panel, just have your picture up so we can see, so the people can see your lovely face. We just need to have that on there because you were on the flyer. Everybody get to see you on the flyer as well. There we go. There we go. All right, we got that cleaned up. It sounds a lot better. All right, let's move forward. Let's move forward to the same question. Oh, I mean, the next one was, is teaching and training the same thing? Yes or no? Did y'all hear me?
Yeah, I think they both have some overlapping qualities, but they
Okay.
have different approaches.
Okay, and how so?
Well, teaching, obviously when we think about teaching, we think about verbally, but also I could say, hey Marcus, I want you to go in and fight Mike Tyson. And when you go in there, right, I want you to go left bob weave to the body, right? You go in there and get bopped in the head. Did you learn something? Or did I teach you something?
I got paid for one, but no. if I bob when I should have weaved, then I ain't learned nothing. I learned how to wake up.
But you did
But
learn something, and then I might even taught you something. Hey,
yeah, not the list. Look,
I might not want to listen to him no more, right?
yeah, I'm about to say, I've learned to fire you from my trainer position. But that's exactly right, though. That's exactly right. Leonard, teaching and training the same thing. As a military man with over, 25, almost 30 years of training and teaching, are they similar or different and how so?
They're similar, but teaching is teaching somebody individually. Training is
Okay.
training a team. So if you look at training, you're doing exercise or you're teaching somebody how to come together and be a team. But teaching is more individually.
Okay.
I can't train you to read a book. I teach you to read a book.
Okay.
You see what I'm saying?
Yes, sir. All right, Mr. Simmons, as well. Well, a lot of your
Well,
okay.
if everybody can hear me, I've lost the signal twice and had to re-sign back in. But training for me, it's about doing and showing by example. Taking a person or a team of people and giving
Yeah.
them
Dad,
the knowledge.
I think it's yours that's breaking up. You're breaking up really, really bad. You might have to go in a different room or a different location. You're breaking up really, really bad.
Okay, all right, because I'm on my phone. So, all right.
Okay. While he changes rooms, Justin Ross in the chat said accountability and responsibility, I agree, are different. You can only hold a person accountable when they have a responsibility or a task. If it's not accomplished, you hold them accountable for their actions of the responsibility and why it wasn't completed, which is what we came up with the first time saying since you weren't responsible, now you will be held accountable. And the currency in which you will pay is that bootay. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Uncle Dre, teaching and training.
Well, for me, teaching is I would say like a learned behavior, right? You teach
Okay.
somebody. Training is, I would say, something that is done through repetitive practice. I guess I'll call it. That would be my difference, if that makes sense.
Yes. So again, I think we're all in agreement with responsibility being more from an external source, somebody giving you tasks and they train you on a task to be responsible for that. And accountability is something from within. You can own up to whatever was done or not done, and you have the ultimate last say so in whatever that was. And if it fails, you earn it, you own it. And if it succeeds, you take the credit. So I think we're all in agreement with that. But in men's lives, we sometimes take on things that we shouldn't as and feel like we're responsible for it, i.e., uh, in your marriages, you think if you're married, you're not responsible for your wife's action, but you are accountable for the success and the failure of that marriage, being the man. That's my opinion. If you disagree with that, let me know. But I think since they take our last names, that overall, we are the ones that's accountable for the success of a marriage or the failure of a marriage, but we're not responsible for our partner's action and what that may cause. Agree or disagree? Thank you.
Well, I'm a somewhat disagree with you on that,
Okay.
and I say that because over time,
Mm-hmm.
right? You should um, your other half, rather your spouse, in other words, you should. I don't want to use the word teach or train, right? But that's kind of what it is, right?
That's exactly what it is.
You kind of give them, right, what's acceptable, so to speak, and what's not. So in essence, you are somewhat responsible for their actions because y'all become one.
Okay.
And so therefore, man, and me and I've been married for 30 some odd years, and let me give you an example.
Yes, sir.
If we're out somewhere, and my wife, or we're approached, let's say, a guy approaches us in the wrong way, right? And he might be kind of spatting off a little bit, and my wife speaks up and talks to this person, this man, right? Uh, she out of order,
Yes.
right? Because
Yes.
that's my job,
Mm-hmm.
right? And my wife knows that, okay? But if she does speak out of turn and says something to this man, as opposed to let me handle it, yeah, I'm responsible because she knows that ain't how that goes because we've been together and I've told her, hey, listen, that's a man's place. That's my place. He's a man. I'm a man. She doesn't get into an argument with another man if I'm there, right? That kind of thing. And I mean that's an example that I would use. So I'm kind of responsible and for if she blurts off, yeah, I'm responsible for that. In
And
my
but
opinion.
that moves into the accountable part because at the end of that, or in that confrontation, so to speak, now you got to judge how this is going to affect us after this. Like if I beat this dude up, I get arrested. How's this going to take my job, my finance, our home, our car, blah 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 blah. So now like I said, the overall success or failure after this is what you'll be accountable for because you have to make this decision. But yes, I totally agree to be following your lead in that situation. And that just comes with years of quote unquote training each other to listen and trusting each other. But I hate using the word too, but we gotta somehow, we gotta describe it some way. And I think that's the easiest way. We got to train each other how we what our expectations of each other. And it's kind of a harsh word, but I think it's acceptable. Because my wife in the other room, she can't hear.
There it is.
She can't hear it right now. So yeah, we good. And if I say anything, it's Uncle Dre's fault. Okay, we moving forward, gentlemen. Gentlemen, I want each one of y'all to give me an example. I mean, not an example, but your thoughts on this statement. When you hear this statement, what comes to your mind? Okay, just because you're doing a lot doesn't mean you're getting a lot done. Just because you're doing a lot doesn't mean you're getting a lot done.
Mhm.
Man, I'd like to go first on this one, man.
Go ahead. Yes, sir.
So so I've known a few guys, man, that like to stay busy. I say, but really ain't doing nothing. And an example I use, man, is if, say for instance, the task at hand is unloading this truck here because it needs to, or loading that truck, it needs to get out of here at a certain time, right? But instead of loading that particular truck, he over here sweeping, cleaning up, right, getting ready to go home. So he doing something, man. But what you're doing ain't really hitting on nothing. That's an example I would use.
Okay, so basically doing stuff to pass time and
instead
is
of
not really
instead of
accomplishing
instead
anything.
of what is helping us, get the task, completed.
Okay.
Definitely. I'll go next on this, but you all have to promise that y'all won't laugh at the story, okay?
Yes, sir.
Can't do that.
All right.
Won't do it, but yes.
Okay, good to go. So I got an uncle that every time, every year we spend a summer with him and everything, and we would come down and ask him what he was up to and doing. And he'd be like, "Hey, you know what? I'm now out here, I'm selling calling cards now, about to get ahead, take over the world, got my business." I'd be like, "Okay, that looks great." Go back home, come back another summer. "Hey, what's going on?" "Oh man, now I'm into flipping cars." Going out doing flipping cars now, and I'm making it happen. "So you're still doing the calling cards too?" "Yep, I'm doing that, and I'm doing this." So he went on as it goes on, more and more he's adding on to these things he's doing to get ahead in life. Become that thousand there. One day we're out, and we're thinking like he has all this going on, and we go out to go eat, and he slides over to me and my brother. He said, "Hey, y'all got the bill?" He's like, "Well, what's going on with all these things you got? That supposed to be making all this side hustle money with." And then, long story short, you find out just bad mismanagement of things. Didn't really know what he was doing. He was more busy just jumping out, not really planning the right way to get into these things, and not prepared for other things. And come to find out, he like upside down by like 20 grand in all these things.
Oof.
He was a lot of
Oof.
busy. Okay,
A lot of busy.
he was a lot of busy, but it really wasn't going nowhere except backwards, right? And I think a lot of times you can find people that are jumping into these different things because you got a lot of ideas, you got a lot of confidence in doing things. But one thing I found that worked for everybody when they say, "Look, I know this one thing is going to get me to the point that I can do many things. Let me take this one vehicle, make it work, and put my focus into that, and then see what may come after I'm on the other side of success with this." But a lot of times people are just busy going around in circles a lot of time. And that could translate into relationships, that could translate to their job, that could translate to goals, all that. But I think when you've got good friends and family that hold you accountable, then you know what you're responsible for.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. All right. All
And I'm
right.
glad
Little love.
glad y'all didn't laugh at me.
I told you we weren't gonna do it. I told you we weren't gonna do it. Cause it's serious business. It's serious business. Little love. And welcome, Jesse Archie.
Same thing. Sorry, go ahead.
Thanks for making it in. Little love, go ahead, sir.
Yeah, same thing in the same context. I mean, you see a lot of people, they go from one job to another one, and then next thing you know, they're 35 years and had 8 jobs. Dude, focus on one job. So, because you eventually gonna have to get a retirement check. You're gonna have to have everything lined up. Don't be just out there moving in one area or another. Make a plan. Like you always say, Brad, what's your 5-year plan? What's your 10-year plan? Stay focused on
Mm-hmm.
that. Way you ain't starting all over again. Now you're wise. Now you're smart. When all you had to do was focus on that stuff in the beginning, then you wouldn't be moonwalking or pedaling your bike on, backwards. And that's all I got to say.
Mr. Senator.
Well, can everybody hear me now?
Yes, sir. Loud and
Okay.
clear.
The reason that why we see so many people sometimes doing things and it doesn't look like they're getting anywhere from our perspective, we talked once upon a time about the environment that we've come up in.
Yes, sir.
Things are not always given to those that necessarily need it from where we see it coming from. I've been around quite a few people that just don't know what to focus on. They're not sure what they want to do. They haven't been exposed to something that they can gravitate to that makes them feel like they are feeling like I'm somebody doing something. There are a lot of people that are just confused, and some are just not looking to have anything any better than what they have. When I come in contact with people who don't want to be better, it just the reasons that they are not putting forth the effort is because they're not having anything to focus on to do. They're just doing. Even some people at my age that are retired, man, they just stay busy just to have something to do to keep from getting bored. But yet they're
Okay.
not focused on doing anything in particular. Life has a way of just passing you by a lot of times when you just don't have the motivation or the desire to accomplish or do anything in particular. You just want to do something.
Okay. Archie, welcome to the program, sir. I'm glad you were able finally, you're finally able to get in. The question is to you. The statement was, what are your thoughts when you hear the statement, just because you're doing a lot doesn't mean you're getting a lot done?
Well, that's a statement we use in construction all the time.
Yes, sir.
We have guys that are in motion and they're moving, but they're not accomplishing anything.
Okay.
And I kind of relate that, tell that to people all the time when I tell people, just because you're doing something doesn't mean you're getting something done. And I use that analogy. I guess you're asking me what is the difference or what is my opinion?
Just what do you think when you hear someone say that statement, or when you say that statement? What are your thoughts? What are you trying to convey to someone when you say just because you're doing a lot doesn't mean you're getting a lot done?
It's usually me telling them, slow down, look at it, and try to accomplish what you're trying to accomplish. Don't just go at it in motion, because then you're like I said, you're never going to accomplish anything. You'll just be moving. And the field we're in requires some type of completion.
Okay. All right. I want to. It's the very next question, but I want everybody to think of it like this, along with the next question. It says, define action and motion. And if we were trying to, if I wanted you guys to, I want to set this up to where you're trying to teach someone the difference in between the two. How would you teach them what is action and what is motion? And it falls under doing something just to, busy work and all of that. But how would you teach someone the differences between action and motion and the importance of setting priorities? Pretend like I'm the student and you're talking to me. Break down action and break down motion and the importance of setting priorities. You can take a moment to think about it before y'all respond. I want everybody to give me their opinion on this. This is important.
May I?
Who's first?
I'll go.
Okay.
I think that, if I'm trying to get you to understand action and motion, I would. There's honestly not a difference between action and motion. You need to, because they both can be the same thing. You can be acting out and not accomplishing anything. So I think that's kind of unfair. And this is just personal, how I feel, my opinion. I think that I would first try to teach you the difference between working and accomplishing. Which would be a better term that I would use, because I can go out and work on my truck, but am I going to fix it without knowing? No, I'll just be working on it. So if I'm accomplishing the fixing of oil change, whatever, we'll use something simple, then it's more, like I said, accomplishing and versus working instead of action and motion. Because I think you can be in action, it not necessarily be actually accomplishing anything. That's just my opinion. I could be wrong.
Okay. And the importance of setting priority.
Well, like I said, the accomplishing is leading towards your goal versus looking like you're getting something done just by working on it. So,
Okay.
the bottom line is to complete your goal, whatever that may be.
Okay. All right. Let's give Leonard a shot at this one. I'm your student, Leonard. Action versus motion and the importance of setting priorities. Well, how would you break that down to me as your student?
Can I?
Okay, go ahead. He seems to be getting his camera together, I think.
Look.
Go
Can I
ahead.
go?
Yes, sir.
For me, first and foremost, I would start by showing, all right, here's what I do to get something accomplished and to get something done, by showing an example in real time.
Oh, his signal went back out.
I think that's where the noise is coming from.
Yeah, I think that's what it has been as well. It's his signal's been messing up the entire time, but he's staying in there, but it's giving him the blues tonight.
Oh, yeah. Well,
All right.
I'll
Okay,
go ahead.
Master, you go ahead.
Yeah, I'll just keep it old school for you. If I would have to show you the difference of the two between action and motion,
Okay.
and just to use the example that was used earlier, working on something. Let's say we're working on a car. We got the car jacked up.
Okay.
And we're supposed to be doing an oil change. And I'd say, hey, Marcus, go grab that wrench, take it from point A to point B, right? And then I'd say, Marcus, take it from point B to point A. After about 5 times of doing that, when do you think that you'd be like, we're going to stop this? Because this ain't getting me nothing, right? We really ain't doing nothing but moving from point A to point B. To me, that's how sometimes people are moving, just with motion, right? We're doing stuff, we're going back and forth, but there's no meaningful motion, right? Now, when it comes time to say, hey, you know what, Marcus, you look up, that oil plug is out, you got a wrench, it's leaking on the floor, we need to do something. Well, now you get to go into action and fix that with that wrench, right? And do something meaningful and go into action.
Okay. And the importance of setting priorities.
Oh yeah. And making sure that what we don't do enough until you get way down the road a lot of times is that we don't really understand the most important currency is your time.
Okay.
How are you using your time?
Okay. And that goes into setting the goals and accomplishing those goals in a timely manner.
Mm-hmm.
And those goals have to be prioritized in what you can accomplish, what you can't. Okay. Who we have left? Uncle Dre? Mr. Williams. Oh, he dropped out again. Oh, I'm sorry, everyone. We're having all these connectivity issues. I don't know. Maybe we had a solar flare tonight. I don't know. There's something going on. It's hitting us pretty hard. Leonard, you had dropped out. You came back in. Mr. Simmons, you want to try it again if he's back? Oh man, we lost half the show. That's bad. We keep losing people.
Yeah, that's that.
For myself, if I were trying to explain it, I would, like everyone is saying, I would have some examples. And leading by example, yes, but as far as you have to sit them down and explain, okay, action is moving towards a goal. Motion is just movement, period, which they can be the same. They sound the same. They even look the same, but they're not. Because if you're just in motion, as Archie pointed out, you're just moving. You're not really moving towards something. And so that's motion, but with action, I have purpose, I have drive, and I've been given a responsibility for something. So now I have to prioritize my time, prioritize my task, so I can accomplish the things that I'm responsible for. That's where the action leads into responsibility. And if I were the one doing the assigning, I would prioritize my work to my best workers, the hardest stuff to my best workers, and more so the easier stuff to my weaker workers, so we can still get things accomplished. And what I'm accountable for is the success of this task or this mission. And once mission is complete, then I give everybody a thumbs up and we move on. So
But
that would be my example. Yes, sir. Go ahead.
I want to comment on your statement, the latter part of it.
Okay.
And what happens most of the time, I'm speaking on the part where you say you would give your hardest work to your best workers.
Yes, sir.
What happens a lot, man, is because that person or those persons are your best workers, you wind up overworking them. In other words, they see right that the lazy dude right gets out easy, not the simplistic job duties and things like that, and it can become a situation where they get frustrated at always getting the harder task and things of that nature. I just wanted to throw that out there. I know because a lot of times I was that person, right, where they just ran me to death, and I'm sitting here looking around like, man, okay, all right, now, oh boy, over there, you know what I'm saying? He always getting the cake, and so that can. You have to be careful if in fact you're doing that as a manager or a person that assigns tasks out.
So I'll take it a little. I hear you. I hear you. You back.
Can I piggyback on what he was saying?
Yeah, I was about to ask if anybody had something else. Go ahead.
Yeah, well, see, I typically put my strongest worker with my weakest.
There you go.
Okay.
And I match them up like that because the stronger worker will put the workload on the weaker worker. However, you find out who wants to, as you say, be in motion and who wants to be in action. The guys that want to move up. So the weaker workers will become a stronger worker, and that's how you build growth. If you put the weaker guys together, you're never going to get anything accomplished because they're not going to do nothing. And then, like he was saying, why do I keep getting all the tough tasks? I mean, I'm your best guy, but I get it. But I mean, you're killing me. That's all.
Yeah. So I'll go off topic a little bit with it. If let's just use your personal job situation. If it don't fit you, you don't have to answer. If you were the leader at a point, you had 4 or 5 workers, and you did give your wouldn't rewarding them with more compensation be the fix, or was that going to be a burnout as well? Like you give them seniority, you give them supervisor position, or you give them more compensation or more vacation. Isn't that the fix to that, or is equal work for equal pay still the thing that we're going through? Are we still in agreement with that? Equal work for equal pay, or should be performance based?
Well, I think, Jesse, that idea of putting them two together, if it's a situation where you can pair workers up, I think that is one cure or one way to kind of boost that weaker person up, is putting him with the person that has the good work ethic. That's one idea, but I think you have to kind of lean on that weaker person just a little bit. When I say lean on them, I mean you have to be able to pull them to the side and talk to them, right? And gradually boost his assignments. Gradually pick him up, man, and let him know that you're needing him to step his game up a little bit. Gradually give him more responsibility, more harder tasks and things of that nature. Because you're only as strong as your weakest link, no matter what, right?
Right.
And so you don't want this guy. And we are off topic, so I leave it there. But yeah, you gotta find a way to make him stronger, man. Period. And not just give him all the easy tasks. So okay.
Anybody want to add to that?
I got one thing with that is how do we get the weaker worker to even be hired, and how long do you keep the weaker worker on there? But how does that happen?
Well, he He
Everybody has to
normally
start.
is related to somebody, right? That has that management position. And so he, in my experience, anyway.
Yeah,
Okay.
but it's certain jobs, right? And I would consider construction one of those ones where, like a doctor, you don't want a doctor that says, "Hey, I just did this, and started operating 2 weeks ago." You're not gonna be too confident about that person working on you, right?
No.
Okay. So it's
So
like an apprenticeship, so to speak.
yeah, so how do you have a weaker worker that again gets to be in a certain job where you need hard workers and experts to know the hard stuff as well as the easy stuff, but then remain part of that team for a long amount of time?
A lot of people are a reflection of their leadership.
Mm,
Oh,
there
yes,
we go.
sir.
His other
Yes,
job,
sir.
Mm,
then he come over here, he gonna be mediocre. I mean, everybody got a dude description. And if you just doing your job and you're doing it real good, don't mean you deserve an award or some extra leave. Okay, good job. You did all right. Do something outside the box to make me give you something extra. How about you use the senior or the best guy in the team? How about you to pull them weaker guys aside? I shouldn't have to train every one of them.
Okay. So you give him the responsibility as co-trainer or
Give them
expert.
responsibility of being a leader.
Right. So then we get into leader and manager and the difference between those two as well, correct?
Yeah, oh yeah, big difference.
Oh yeah, yeah. Just like boss and leader, big difference.
Big difference.
Yeah. Now, is a boss and leader the same thing?
No, because my boss signs my check, but I wouldn't follow him
Absolutely.
into a job site.
oh, wow.
You were shaking your head, Uncle Dre. What you got?
Man, they absolutely are different.
Okay.
My most bosses, man, let me stop. But bosses, right? For me, bosses, typically, man, they don't even know the responsibility of all of the responsibilities of those of things that needs to take place throughout a job function. Man, they don't even know them all, right? They might have other qualities, right, that make them qualified to be quote the boss, right? Maybe they write good evaluations or something like that. But a lot of times, man, bosses don't know what the true job tasks are anyway. A lot of them.
Okay. Okay. But now they're still held accountable for the success of the final product. So
Yeah, but they're not responsible for the failures. They get to blame that on everybody else. That's when you're a boss.
They're really good at that.
Well, ain't that called being a genius? Well, you could just get out of it.
So we all watch professional sports. Your team is sucking. Your team is trash. They fire the coach, but the coach ain't played one down. The coach ain't missed one bucket. But the coach gets fired first, and they keep the same player.
Did the coach recruit the team?
The GM brings in the players, right? It ain't his fault who the GM brings in either. So you know what I'm saying?
So now we go into the training of those and development of those people is supposed to be held by the leaders. And if the leaders don't do that job, should you go straight to the leaders? No, they go straight to the coaches. But the coaches are supposed to teach the leaders. And if that teaching is lacking, then the training and development is lacking. Then the employees or the players lack. So I guess firing the coach would unravel that link in the chain. I guess. I don't know.
Well,
so you use the NBA. Oh, sorry.
There's a difference between the head coach and say the offensive coordinator or defensive coordinator or special teams coach. So they're sub coaches, if you will, right? So There could be a situation where the subs are not getting the job done. And the coach needs to recognize, the head coach needs to recognize where that weak link is. Okay.
Right.
His job might be, he might get fired, right? But it was his job to identify the weak link in the subs before it got to him. Okay. So in essence, he really wasn't doing his job, right? So he is held responsible. Or he has to take accountability for
there we go.
Yeah.
There we go. So that responsibility at this level and accountability is at a higher level. because I was going to ask earlier which one of you guys think comes first, responsibility or accountability,
Well,
and
responsibility comes first.
comes first,
Yeah.
right? Because I don't think anyone's born accountable,
Right.
you know, or they don't recognize that they're born accountable. It's something that develops in here. Like, I'm a humble man, and I can admit when I'm wrong. And if I screwed up something, hey, I screwed up. That's being accountable for your action. But if I train people to do a certain job and they don't do it correctly, they're responsible for it, but I'm still held accountable because it was my duty to teach and develop and train them to be responsible for their task, and they didn't get the job done. So I failed, and then they failed because of my failure. So I think that's why they go to the head. I never thought it was fair to fire the coach first. I'm like, get that sorry quarterback out of there. He threw 15 interceptions this season. So let's get me somebody else that can actually read a defense. You know, but let me make it a little more personal. Your dad and all of you have 3 sons, right? You got 3 sons. I know it's easy to talk about a job. Now I want to make it personal. I want you talking to your sons. All right, this is how I want you to explain the importance of goals and priorities, you know, as it relates to accountability and responsibility to your sons, the importance of setting priorities and working towards your goals. How would you explain this to your sons of different ages? It don't matter. How would you do that? Because that's what this is all about, really.
Well, for me, man, yeah, this is. I hope I'm answering your question when I say this. When I was raising my son, man, I made him work for everything. I didn't give him anything. And when I say I didn't give him anything, I didn't give him anything. He earned everything. I made him, right, from a very young age, and I think it might have been 7, 8. He was emptying the trash, right, cleaning up his room, doing the bathroom. I had to teach him how to do those are the things I taught him at a young age, right? And he would get allowances, man. And then as he got a little older, I started teaching him, you know, about saving, right, and working toward goals, small goals, and those started at when he would want, you know, little cars or whatever. He's saving up your money and things of that. And it started like that for me, as you know, when I was raising my son. But and if I'm being honest though, it got to a point where I didn't have anything else to give him.
Okay.
But yeah, we ain't going there, Mark, because I know you slick with yours, man.
Look, but I'm gonna use that though. I'm gonna use that because I'm gonna add it for the next panel, guys, to answer the question as well, because you did answer it. Your son is about to graduate high school, and he has decided to not go to college. What is the thing you can tell him most about setting goals, prioritizing your time, your action, your motion, and how to accomplish all of those things? What are some things you can teach him or tell him? What would you tell your son?
I tell him he's gonna be homeless if he don't get a job.
Okay, other than the obvious.
Keeping it real, huh? Keeping it real.
Other than the obvious. Yes, sir. Keep going.
I think for me, definitely, if they made the decision to not go to school, you have to figure out what's that reason and why. And it's a lot of different things. Obviously, when you're telling me if I have the ability for my child to go to school for free, and they're saying that they don't want to go, then you have to get to the bottom of as to why. Like, is there a thing that we're just inferior? Not to say college is for everybody. We know that's not a thing, but it is given the opportunity, saying that you may have better opportunities than most should you have that piece of paper behind your name, right? That's the understanding and the thought process. So why would my son not want to go? And I could tell him, hey, when you make these choices, figure out how their mind work, because common sense, as we used to call, is not so common nowadays. So you have to find out that inner working and ask the right questions. And depending upon what he tells me, well, then that gives me a better way to direct him on, hey, son, if you don't do something fruitful, you're going to be homeless. Okay. So,
Well,
Okay, Leonard.
And that's what I meant.
All right, so that's what I respect his decision. It's his life. I would sit him down at the table, get him a piece of paper, and I would write college on the top and scratch it out. Now tell me what you do want to do.
Okay.
Give me some things that you do want to do, and let's strive towards those things. But you're only 18, 19 years old, so you probably need to figure some stuff out right now anyway. I can't rush you straight into life. You know, I mean, you got to think about, there's one day you're probably going to have a family, a wife, some kids, and you're going to be doing the same thing I'm doing. These are all the things you have to think about. You're going to try to buy a house, a car, the responsible things. Don't try to go out there and do what your friends are doing because one of your friends dropped out of school.
Okay. Oh, myself, and I get it that we all think we done raising our grown sons, but we not, because we not. But I get it, because I still look to my dad a lot. I still look to my parents and other mentors, all of you. I still come to you if from time to time and ask questions. We talk about a lot of things. So for my son, and if he's watching, son, I love you, but I'm not talking about you directly. I would tell him that you've made a good decision because it's your decision. I wouldn't, knowing what I know now, I wouldn't tell him it was a bad choice. I would say, okay, but you have to have a plan in place. You have to have something to work towards. You can't just go to work. That's not going to cut it, because one of these days you are going to want a family. And I would greatly just try to dissuade him from going that route, going and getting married right out the gate and trying to be accountable for a family when you're not accountable for yourself. So take some time with that. Learn a skill or a trade, whether it be truck driving or welding or anything like that. Go get a trade or a skill, something that you can grow and develop in. And then I would tell you, become a master at that. You can still date, okay? Don't get no kids too soon. And if you do get someone you're interested in, bring her by. Let me holler at her. Let me look at. Let your mom talk to her. Let us help you vet this woman to see if she's going to be a good piece into your life. I try to keep him single as long as possible until he's ready.
Yeah, that's a bad idea there.
I would try to, because I did it myself. Married at 18, 2 kids by 21. It's rough. And if knowing what I know now, if I had the opportunity, that's what I'm like, dude, stay single as possible. Like I said, you go date, you can even have a relationship, but serious marriage, kids, all that stuff, give yourself to about 30. Let yourself develop so you can be that 100% guy when you move into it. And as you know, I would support him as much as I could, besides doing it all for him. Like, you ain't coming back to live. No, sir. You're going to have to stand on your own too. But if you need help, I got your back. And then I'll just try to get that confidence in. But that's how I would try to do it. But go ahead. I'm sorry.
Mark, you said 2 things, nephew, that interest me.
Yes, sir.
And the first thing is, you said that you would try to talk him into to being single as long as you could.
Right. Not married, unmarried, as long as you could.
Okay. Well, first of all, life is different now than when I was coming up. But I mean, when you're in love, I mean, you're not gonna talk somebody out of being with somebody. I mean, I'm just keeping it real, man. That
Right.
saying what you just said would drive him to that person more, right? Yeah, I'm just saying.
I mean, yeah, it may, but that would just be my advice because I would ask him, how are you going to bring up this family? How are you going to protect and provide? How are you going to problem solve? I mean, we know you can procreate, but how are you going to solve issues and problems?
Well, one thing would be is they solve them together, man. If you have a helpmate, right? Y'all solve problems together. Not
Mhm.
being with the person ain't gonna prevent problems from coming, man.
Right. I mean, I got it. I got it. That would just be my advice, though. On that, that's why I would advise him
Okay. I
to
don't wanna,
wait.
we ain't debating. We're not having a debate. Okay, so I'm gonna
No. I'm just saying I would advise him to take time in choosing that mate and to assure that she's gonna be it because that helpmate part, that's a doozy. If it's the wrong one, I know from my own lived experience. If you pick the wrong one, man, it's devastating. It's emotionally
but you
devastating.
don't know that though.
Right.
You have no idea going in that that's the wrong one or the right one. You
Right.
just following your heart, man, which is what
Right.
you're
That's
supposed to do.
right. That's why I said if it is somebody,
Now,
bring her by mom and dad and let us try to help you vet.
And I'll go a little deeper than that, Mark. And I ain't
Okay.
nephew, I ain't stepping on your toes. I promise I ain't.
Oh, you're good. You're good.
Enter into a marriage, man, marriage is work. It's
Oh
not
yeah.
easy. And
Uh-huh.
you take the good with the bad,
Yes, sir.
right? Everybody is gonna make mistakes. Nobody is perfect, right? When you enter
Mhm.
into that union, right? Then y'all become one, and you have to learn how to sacrifice and do things, right, that you ordinarily might not do because y'all are one now. So that don't mean that everything gonna be perfect all the time, bro.
Right.
There gonna be challenges throughout,
Mhm.
and life is gonna turn you upside down from time to time. That don't mean that you're not supposed to be with that person, even if she or he goes out and does something he ain't got no business doing.
Okay.
So because nobody is perfect. So you have to be willing to be able to sit down and be grown up, have discussions, hard discussions, man, where your feelings are
Okay.
hurt and everything, and then your intent is to be forthright, right, without hurting each other. You know
Okay.
what I mean? I ain't trying to go off into nothing else, man, but too many times we when we find somebody or the person we think we should be with, right, and that person makes a mistake or doesn't do what we thought he or she shouldn't have done, we ready to run, go get a divorce or whatever. I mean, you sit
But
down, you discuss things, you talk about them. You might be really upset. I'm talking about fighting mad, right? But that doesn't mean that the marriage is over with unless you just want it to be.
and and what you just did would be the perfect talk to have with your son as he's going into a serious quote relationship or marriage.
Right.
You make sure that this is going to be the one that's going to fight for you, with you,
Yeah.
stand with you through thick and thin. You got everything you just said would have been, for me, it would have been perfect. I was like, okay, I got you, Dad. Let's help me work this thing out, man. I'm good. I'm here.
Yeah.
That would have been perfect. For me, it's my understanding it would have been perfect. Leonard, you have raised your hand for a second.
Yeah, I agree wholeheartedly with your uncle. I got married when I was
Yes, sir.
35 years ago. I can't hold my son to that standard because it might not work out for him like that.
Mm-hmm.
Let him make his decision. Let him go out there and what do you call it? Sow your own oats. You go do your what do you call it? Interviews and find
Okay. But do we all agree that part of that vetting process should be from both sides of the parents, like especially with her father and his mother? I mean, his mother and her father should at least be able to sit down and look at each other because those are very
Sure.
things. Like for my daughter,
Yeah.
I would girl, it's bringing by because I can smell bullshit way down the street. I'm a no. Nah, no, no. You won't
But
get
here's
my
the
blessing.
thing. But here's the thing too, though. We have to understand that if you basically tell her, oh, he full of S, whatever,
Right.
then and give it to her from that perspective, that's not gonna deter her from wanting to be with that person.
No, it
As a
may
matter of
not.
fact, it's going to make her want to be with him even more because I mean, just face it, when you're a kid and you're listening to your parents, do you think they don't know nothing?
Right.
I mean, be real
Right.
honest. When your
Right.
parents are trying to tell you what to do when you were a young teen, a young adult, you thought, oh, you don't know what's in right now. This you old. You don't know what's happening. When in
Mhm.
reality, they've done everything we thought about done and then some. About doing
Right.
and then some. Right.
And,
And
and
so
and
when you
that
tell that person, you tell them your son or daughter, hey, he ain't about nothing. They ain't doing nothing but pushing them right to him.
I mean that may happen, but we're that's the part where we came up and at first when I said you're not responsible for the actions of others, but you are accountable for the overall
Sure. Sure.
being of the family. So you may tell your daughter, hey, that's not a good idea because you're being accountable for her in the end. Like he goes and does something to her, she got to come back home. Now you got to take on, a grown kid back in the house, blah, 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 blah. But
And I,
she's still responsible for her own actions, but you're
and
just
I'm
accountable for the training and teachings that she receives to help her make better decisions or your son make those better decisions.
Responsible for them before they get
So,
to the
and I'm
age.
glad you brought that
Bad
part
people.
up because we are the only culture, right, that
mhm.
tells our kids they got to get out when they get a certain age. You're 18 now, you're
Okay.
grown now, you got to go. We're the only culture that does that. Nobody else does that. Well, why are we
Yeah,
in such a hurry to kick our kids out of the dang on house?
Uh, well, I can interject on some of that. Some of the reason that still, we talked about this before, how we still are playing out old things that happened before. But that was because back in the day, your parents were scared that they weren't going to be around long enough to teach you things while you had to get out here and adapt to this world and know how to fend for yourself on a bunch of things. And they didn't have the opportunity back then. They could get shot, stabbed, killed real quick for just being black. So that has
mm,
perpetuated and still being a thing that we're talking about getting you out the door,
Well, he
because
gonna
of
be
that.
black. He gonna be black over there in his own house too.
He may be, but
I mean, I'm just
but
saying. What you
but
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 he'll be responsible in that
he'll be
house.
responsible though.
There you go.
You see what I'm saying? And so part of that is getting them out, because we've talked about this before about, hey, what's the difference in your child going out there and another community child going out there in the world?
Well, I understand what the point you're trying to make, but in to me, right? If if we are not in such a hurry, look at it from this perspective. If we're not in
okay.
such a hurry to kick our kids and put them and make them go out there on their own, let's say, for instance, I got 3 children. Me and my wife are together, and we got 3 kids. The kids grow up, go to college, come back home when you get out of college, right? Because now you have at least some debt, even if you went and got get this scholarships, you still have a little bit of debt. Some and most of them anyway. You come back home now. Say for instance, things are get more expensive as you get older, and the kids come back. They get jobs, good jobs, because they're educated, or if they're not, they have some career, right? And then now the whole family benefits from that other income. Okay, the child gets to save up some money to be financially stable when they finally do get out there, right? Mom and dad, as they get older, are able to save more money now because the child is contributing somewhat, if nothing else, a little bit to the household, right? A couple $100 a month or whatever you want to say it is. All 3 kids do that. right? Now it puts everybody in a better situation before they're kicked out.
Oh, it
Now,
does.
Okay.
It does. But what happens when I say, "Hey, Dad, don't touch my milk. And by the way, I'm gonna come in anytime of night I want to, and I'm not really gonna. I really ain't got no plan to leave ever. Then what?"
Now we set boundaries, man. You have to set boundaries. Come on, you have to be. You have to be realistic.
Wouldn't boundaries be a timeline too? Hey, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
You come
Sure,
home,
absolutely.
get
they would
yourself
be.
Yes,
together,
sir.
Absolutely.
get you a job, save you up some money, and move
Sure.
out. But I want to make sure you're comfortable when you move out. Well, why do I have to go? Because, like he was saying, because I need to see you fly. You can always come back here.
I ain't
You
with
can
that.
always come back
Hey,
here.
hey,
But I
hey,
need to see you fly.
everything you say is right. But my question is, how long do you have to sit on that egg?
That would depend on you and your child, really. You know what I'm saying? Like, I got one daughter, so, you know, she's safe forever. She got me wrapped around her finger. You have to ask
As
somebody else.
most of us are with our daughters, as most of us are. I think we all victims of that. I get it. I get it. What we all saying, and everyone's correct. Now, and the part that I'm getting us to is mentor and trainer. That was another question. Is a mentor and a trainer the same thing? So, let's answer that first, and then I'll go back to the sons and daughters example we was going through. Can everyone give me a piece of that? Is a mentor and a trainer the same thing?
No,
I don't think so.
I think a mentor is someone that kind of puts more into you. They give you more focus. They give you, you know, more attention, more guidance. A trainer
Okay.
is someone simply showing you how to complete a task
Okay.
versus teaching you how the task is done, if that makes sense.
Yes, sir. It does. Leonard.
I'm on the same line. I mean, a mentor guide you, give you some direction. You know, maybe you should do it like this, and you know, probably help you out. From my experience, this is how you probably should do it. A trainer is somebody who's actually training you how to do a task individually.
Okay. Andre.
Yeah, I mean it's same thing, man. I mean, you know.
Same thing. Same thing. No, nothing to add differently. Again, it goes back, accountability and responsibility. A trainer is more external. He's showing you how to work. A mentor gets you internally. He's showing you how to be. He's showing you how to be. What are you? He's helping you develop you. Whereas a trainer is just showing you how, you know, to do something correctly. You know, bench press or, you know, squats or anything like that. Personal training. It's a mentor is someone that's teaching you to build your inner person. So, if we got the grown kids in the house, we're no longer training them at this point because they become adults, but now we're mentoring them, so to speak, and how whatever person they've decided to be. Now we're trying to help them become the best possible version of that person. Agree or disagree?
Agree, totally.
I agree.
Agree. Anybody want to add anything to that before I throw some left hooks in here? No? Nothing from nobody? Oh, okay. Okay. I got you, gentlemen. I got you. We talked earlier, or who remembers the first call from year one, accountability versus responsibility?
Oh,
Remember majority of it.
Remember majority of it? Okay. We went over accountable and responsible. We added in this year needs and wants. This goes along the priority portion of it. So we've already known that, you know, setting priorities and goals are important. How do you differentiate needs and wants? Again, we're still talking to these grown kids that's in your house. So how are we distinguishing needs and wants to them as it partakes into their 5-year plan so they can get on up out of there after they 24, 25 or whatever.
Well, if I remember from that conversation, and maybe it was Mr. Leonard that said it, you need air, but you want a new car. But you want a new car.
Yeah, you did say that. You need air. But how would you differentiate that to your sons and daughters that have gone to college? They didn't get the job they wanted to right away, so they come back home, a little bit of debt. They go into work. They want a lot of things, and they need a lot of things. How are you helping them to differentiate the two? What will you tell them?
First
You
thing
need to remember this is my house.
What?
If you want to stay here, you're gonna get on the ball.
Okay.
Rule number one, huh? Rule number one.
See, Jesse will point out that big target. That's the big target. Let's get to the smaller portions in the middle, like how. Go ahead.
Yeah, that goes right into it. Hey, if you don't want to follow these rules in this home, well, you need to make a goal to get yourself out of this house and achieve the things to get you out of this house. Because eventually, I realized why there's a discord between son and father, why mother and daughter don't get along. It's to get them to get out of the nest. That's why there's discord at some point in time. That's why you get tired of seeing a grown man at the refrigerator at the same time you at the refrigerator, right?
With his shirt off.
With his shirt off.
Like you comfortable as hell, little boy.
Because you don't walk around the house with no shirt on, right?
No.
So
Nah, but
nobody walk around the house with us.
Yeah, he's 20. He's 25. You know.
Yeah, you got to tell them to stick their chest in because they walk around with their chest out too much.
Yeah, you can put all that up, son. You need to put all that up.
Don't look like that no more. Shirt it up.
Yep, there we go. But like for me, my example would be, I know you want some stuff, but you need to prioritize your fundamentals first, and that's your car you're gonna drive, the address you're gonna live at, the job, your bank account, things like that. Get all that stuff squared. Huh?
No, I was gonna say, and if you don't have those things yet, then we not, Jordans don't come up in the house, right?
Mm-mm.
And PS5s or whatever it is, that stuff you shouldn't be focused on, right? Until you're out on your own. Then that's when you can, relish yourself into purchasing those kind of things. But while you're here, right, you should be focused on, the necessities, a savings account, and putting away the money for your own ride and things like that, man. You know what I'm saying?
Yes, sir. Because I came up with a thing of 5 basic fundamentals that every grown man needs, and if you don't have these 5, it would be, like I said, it would be hard for you to say to yourself that I'm a fully grown man, because if you don't have these 5, you're still dependent on other people. Those were a valid driver's license, reliable transportation that's in your name, stable living quarters that's, again, in your name, steady taxable income, whether it be a job or career or something of those lines, and then a bank account that's not in the negative. If you got those 5 things, then you can start to build a foundation to building your own kingdom where you're the man of the house. If you don't have all 5 of those, I know some gurus might say, well, you don't need a bank account, blah, 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 blah. No, shut up. Yes, you do. You need somewhere that direct deposit money to go, and it needs to be able to fund the things that you got, like your house and your car. So you need debit card, credit card, all those things. So anybody disagree with those 5 fundamentals?
Yeah. Can we just add that? Yeah. Can we add that non-taxable?
Say that one at a time. Who said?
I said we live in an era of Uber where, Uber and work from home. So the vehicle is, you can still get out my house without a vehicle.
Mm.
Yeah, you can still get out without a car,
Mm.
but you got to have them four for sure. And I think he said he wanted to add one.
Yeah, you need to change that taxable income to non-taxable income.
That's it. Okay, Mr. Financial Guru. Let's get him started first.
I'm just saying. You know, that's the other thing that's different between our community and other communities and the rich and the poor. They're telling them, hey, here's game on game that I've set up for you to where you'll never have to pay tax on anything when I show you these methods, right? And that's again, they don't really ask their kids what they're going to be when they grow up. They tell them.
Tell
And
them.
if they're not,
Yes.
if they're not part of the plan, that they quickly write about it the will because they know the things about college being a business and really is not there to teach you something beyond other than if you're going to be a astronaut or a doctor or a lawyer, then yes, you need to go those routes. But when you
Yeah.
hear somebody say, "I got a degree in liberal arts," well, then where is that going to get you for $300,000 that you
Come on.
paid in debt?
Well, Uncle Dre alluded to it earlier. He said he reached the point where, and it's not the whole we perish because of lack of knowledge. He just said he reached the point where he didn't have anything else to teach. And I understand that because I mean I think we mostly do reach that point when the boys get a certain age because now they should have enough to where they're creating on their own. So it's not that we don't, like you said, the taxable income, non-taxable. Let me get him started first with learning how to do it taxable. You got to pay tax first, learn that way. And then as you develop enough knowledge, now I can show you another way to get it non-taxable. There's always a step. But once you run out of those steps, now they're completely on their own and you don't have anything left to show them. Now you're basically just a crutch.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, Marcus. I just
No,
Go ahead.
saying it got to a point where he was a sophomore in high school. He was smarter than I was.
Okay.
I didn't have anything else to give him. Now I have some college, right? So I'm not an idiot. I just didn't have anything else to teach my son. So I put him in a center for leadership development where it would mold and bring him the best of him out, right? He had mentors there that had, PhDs and things of that nature, right? So they could help focus and get him to focus on what he wanted to be, what he wanted to do, what he liked, those kind of things. I didn't know how to do that, those things, get that out of him, right?
Okay.
So I took him and put him into something that I thought could help shape and mold and get him to where he went. And by the way, my son has his master's degree in education. He is, and I'm not, bragging or nothing, but I think it helped. You know what I'm saying?
It
Master's
did. But
degree. He's an educator. So yeah.
But you can brag on that. That's
Yeah.
okay.
yeah,
It's okay to brag about that.
Hey, congratulations.
Congrats, man.
Cuz. Congratulations.
And here's another thing. At least you did teach them everything you knew. There's a lot of fathers out there that ain't teaching them boys nothing.
There we go.
They ain't
Come
teaching
on.
them nothing. So you gave him everything you had, and look where he's at now. So you did a good job, man.
Yeah.
And even though he may be getting an adult, like I said, we still continue to raise him. Your mentorship as dad
Boom.
is priority for him. Was priority number one. He's all, and he ain't gonna come to you often until he gets to the point where he's like, "Dad, let me talk to you real quick."
He does.
It's point break at that point because he wants your approval and he wants to show you that I'm a man.
Yeah.
But sometimes they get to that point, be like, "Hey, let me holler at you," and then he'll bring it to you. So
and by the way, right, as an adult, well, from the time he went to college, he never asked me for anything else from that point on. He went to school in the summer and earned his money to get him his first car and all of those things. He never asked for anything.
I don't think I'd ask you for anything either after you worked me like a slave and earned everything. I don't think I'd ask you for anything either, man.
It taught him work ethic.
Yeah, I got you. I'm just saying. I don't think I'd ask you either. I'm just saying.
He gonna say no anyway. I ain't finna
Yeah,
ask him
exactly,
nothing.
exactly. But you did have something to tell him on the end of that, and I think every dad should tell their kid that when they get to that point, when you find yourself possibly about to repeat yourself. And that one thing is what do you tell a man with two black eyes?
Told you twice.
Yep.
Nothing. You already been told twice, right?
Duck. That's what you tell him.
Duck.
Duck, yeah. Bob and weave, all that. Like, son, no. Because they are a reflection on us when they leave the house. And that's why we have to have a continuance of mentorship and guidance, even though they call themselves adults. They can be 30 right now and still making some old simple, foolish mistake. Like, son, I've told you this 1,000 times. So you still have to be that Jiminy Cricket in their ear and give them the guidance and hope and pray that they listen and adhere to it and then apply some of the stuff that you give them. You may be smarter than me, young man, but you still 20 something and I'm double you in age. I guarantee I done been through some things you ain't been through yet.
Hey,
Sit on down. Let me holler at you.
But one thing we got to do is we have to recognize their education. We can't always say we know more than them because we older than them. At some point, we got to listen to them.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? Maybe they did learn a new trick. You know, I'm not saying all the time, but I'm saying sometimes you do have to listen to them. All right, I hear you. That's the only way they're gonna listen to you is if just remember you talking to your dad. You didn't really listen to him until he listened to you. Am I lying?
Okay.
I listened to mine when he pulled that belt out. I was very attentive.
I don't know if you can call that listening, man.
Yeah,
I call that getting in line.
Yeah, but
that's training.
That's still listening.
Yeah, that was training.
What you say?
That's training right there.
That wasn't mentoring. That was training.
Yeah, but that was listening when you heard him say something.
Yeah.
You were very attentive.
No, but I'm not talking about like as a kid. I'm talking about as an adult. And these are just like regular things. Like say y'all are both working on something in the garage together because he's grown now and he wants to do it his way and you know your way because it works and it works for you. It always works. Well, he may have learned something. Maybe. Not always. Most of the time it's dumb. But sometimes they surprise you. So, you know, because I do it with my dad a lot. I have to remind him, hey, Dad, you got to remember, man, you taught me everything I know. So, you know.
Yes.
Whether you forced it in me with that belt or that stick or the boot or the switch but you know what I'm saying? You taught me everything. So, you know, listen to me and this might work out a little better for us. So that's what I'm saying. You do have to listen to your sons occasionally. Every blue moon.
Okay. I got one final discussion topic that I wanted to bring by you guys. And Jesse, thanks for that because, you know, I do listen to, I listen to my son a lot of times, but I'm listening to formulate help. And I got to get out of that. I have to listen to understanding. I'm trying to solve the issue as he's talking to me. So I have to get better at that myself and developing better listening skills when he say it. I listen to him, I don't hear him all the time because I'm trying to solve it as he's telling me instead of just taking it all in and saying, okay, son, I feel you, I understand. What do you want to do about it?
From my experience, a lot of times they don't want you to solve it. They just want you to hear them.
Exactly. So that's why I made a few mistakes with that, and I do realize I have to be better at that when they do bring issues. When he especially brings issues to me, it'll push them away. It will, and then it's kind of tentative as they come back in. So, yes, I appreciate that, Jesse, for bringing that up. But I do want to ask each one of you guys, who gave you the example, or who set the example for you for being accountable in your life, and when? Who gave you that example? Who set the example for you?
That one's easy. That would be my parents, both of them. I grew up with both my mother and my father. And it was just the way the household was ran. My dad was a breadwinner. It was known. He's going to go out there and work. My mother took care of the home. That's what she did. Now, my father was the disciplinary, not my mother. So, you know, she was the nurturer. He was the dictator. So
explain that.
I mean, he was old school. You get
Okay.
whoopings. I got whoopings because he forgot about a whooping a long time ago when he was whooping somebody else. You know what I mean? Yeah, he's old school. I love my dad to death, but there was a time when what I'm saying, I was like, me and my dad were kind of like at odds. And this was like in my middle age, and then one day I said something so disrespectful that I had to drive all the way back to his house and apologize to him to his face, and then and then we talked about it. It wasn't like a terrible thing. I didn't cuss him or nothing, but it was just out of line for the amount of respect that I have for my dad. So, but it was that. I mean, he kind of ruled with an iron fist, but at the same time, he instilled principle. He taught us things. He told us, what I'm saying, he made sure that we got good grades. And then there was a time where he had to go travel for work, and he was gone a lot. And I think that kind of put a little resentment in there for him, because there was things that I was doing and he wasn't there for. And then growing up, like I said, later on, we had this little riff, and then we got back together and talked about it. But that all goes back to just how he has raised me my whole life, and my mother the same way. They instilled these things in me. And like I said, even to this day, I hold on to those things. So that's where it came from for me at just the earliest age I can remember, except for the one time I threw his tools in the wells when I was 4, which he reminds me of every month.
Threw his tools where?
In a well. He left
In
me
a
down
well.
there with some tools, and I like when things splash in water, so I threw all his tools in the water, and he took them out the well, and he told me, don't do it again, and he left me down there with them tools by myself, and I did it again. And I was 4 years old, so I don't remember this story. And he reminds me every day after all the tools I bought him. But like I said, that's our relationship now. I love this guy to death, but they instilled it early, and it went from loving him to being mad at him to he's back to my hero again. And but they instilled that early, and like I said, I could talk about my parents all day long.
Okay. Okay. All right. And thank you for sharing that. I'm sorry I threw that on you, but when you said a dictator, I wanted to see if that made it more difficult or easier for you as you got older. But you explained it
No,
very well.
he, like I said, I put my father. We joke about he whooped us too much. Man, my father didn't whoop me enough. And I got whoopings all the time, and I was bad. So I can only imagine how worse it would have been had he not disciplined me.
Oh my goodness.
See, I would probably be dead.
Oh, okay.
That's just the
Okay.
truth. I mean, because no matter what I was doing, his voice always echoed in my head, no matter how much trouble I got in.
Okay. Mr. Massey, you as well. Who set the example for you?
Oh,
And thank you, Jesse, again.
There you go. Now, after my parents split up, I think I was about 7. My mom and my oldest uncle set the standards. And my mom, she was definitely a woman with a 6'1" attitude, even though she was 5'6". But we definitely used to not want to have our uncle come around and have to discipline us. But the way he would do it wasn't more or less about by beating you or anything like that. You just hated hearing the words that you disappointed him.
Mm. Okay.
That hurt more than getting a beating, because he was a man who really cared about any and everybody. Get the shirt off his back. And he always kind of taught us about what it is to really be a human being, what it is to be kind, accountable, and all those good things, and to be a man. This man, one time, to go get a job, he hitchhiked all the way from North Carolina to DC to get a job for trucking, come back and provide for his family. And I'll never forget that, because I was like, what is he doing? And they're like, oh, he's on hitchhike all the way up.
Did Dad ever come back in?
Dad came back in way after I came into the military and so forth. And it still became a hit and miss situation, because I think that was more of a guilt trip for himself that was going on. That no matter how much I said, hey, I'm not mad with you, I don't feel any kind of way. It's just that obviously we're not connected like that, right? And I think that was more of a disappointment to him, where he just kind of feels it away versus being as active. And again, my uncle to this day, check in on me, come visit me. No matter I could be in Alaska, he'll come come up there, check in on me, make sure everything okay. But more importantly, am I representing in the way that he basically showed us how to be a man?
Okay. Hey, that's really good. Thank you for sharing that as well. Mr. Leonard.
Mine's a little different. My father died when I was 9 years old, and my whole family chipped in to make sure that this house was built. I couldn't turn a corner without somebody telling me, "You're gonna be somebody. You're gonna be something positive. You ain't getting no trouble. Get your ass in the house." You know, I mean, if my mother wasn't around, somebody had her back and making sure I was doing the right thing.
Okay.
And that was a whole lot. I mean, you know, and I like Mr. Max just said, I got a 78-year-old uncle right now, and I check on him all the time because he calls me every day. How you doing? I'm doing fine, sir. How about yourself?
Okay. So you had the village approach.
I had a
More
village.
than likely.
I had a village.
Okay.
Women and men.
Okay. Uncle Dre, last but not least.
Man, I'm almost ashamed to say.
Come on now.
So mom raised us, and truth be told, man, I learned a little bit from everybody, right? From the pastor to uncle, cousin, a little bit of everybody, to be honest, man. But what really drove me, because my dad wasn't there, and I watched him raise 2 other families. What drove me was not wanting to be like him, right? Where he left us, raised somebody else's family, and then divorced her, and then raised another family. You know what I mean? And so that is really what drove me to be better, to want to be always in my kid's life. His not being there made me who I am today. And like I said, it came from a little bit of everybody. I would take little bits and pieces from every man that I met that I thought had character. You know what I'm saying?
Okay.
Bits and pieces.
That would be called the village, right?
Yeah.
The village approach as well.
Yeah. So that's what it was for me. Now, I don't want to minimize either before I end it. I don't want to minimize what mom was, okay? Because mom did a wonderful job raising us and giving us all she could from a mother's perspective. 2 boys, right? Twins. And so I don't want to minimize what she did, but that male characteristic stuff, right, came from pastors, cousin, uncle, anybody I met that had character. So yeah.
Yeah, I got to say the same thing. My mother, I can't discount the great job she did or the great effort she put forth in trying to make me into the best person I could be. I mean, I get one more story. When I was in the 1st grade, my grandmother made me wear a 3-piece suit to school every day. I'm the only kid in there 6 years old with a damn 3-piece suit on.
Wow.
Every
You were sharp though. You were sharp. I wonder what picture day was like, bruh.
Whoa. I don't have a comeback for that one. I don't have anything for that one. That's amazing. That's amazing.
Man, that is.
That's amazing. I bet it was,
Hey,
but it was Detroit though, so it was
but
probably cool
he
enough
was
you can
best
wear it.
dressed though. You got to give it to him.
Her
He was
whole
best
point was,
dressed.
That's fair.
Yeah,
her whole
Yeah.
point was she was trying to dress me for success right now.
that's right.
If you
Right
learn
now.
how to dress now, you'll learn how to dress when you get older.
Hey, Deion Sanders said, if you look good, you play good. If you
There you go. There
play
you go.
good, you feel good.
Gentlemen, I
Diablo
will,
said it must be the money. So I mean, that's the same dude.
Oh,
yeah,
Lord.
yeah. I thank you for all. I thank you all, gentlemen, for your inputs on those. What I wanted to try to wrap this up with is, now that we're in leader positions ourselves, we are fathers now. We are the mentors. We are the trainers. We're the well, so to speak. We're the water. Leading the horses to water. We're those leaders now. We're the ones driving those teams of horses. We're the managers at work and delegating those responsibilities, those duties. We're the fathers with the adult kids that's trying to help them move their forward in the direction that we think would be best for them, or allow them to see what is best for themselves. We must take what we learn here. And he said that, and like I said, all of y'all experiences in a collective is a great example for those to just listen to and hear some of our examples, some of the things we put. But I think one of the most profound statements said tonight is, because you weren't responsible, you will be held accountable. I think that is a great thing that was said tonight, but it doesn't get said if we don't have this conversation. So again, thank you all for all your input, but we have to understand that we're not being accountable for what we do ourselves. We can't hold anybody else accountable for what they do. We have to work on self and then train or teach others to work on themselves first. Prioritize your time, set goals, set responsibilities, and accomplish those things through your action and not just a lot of talk. And we all know what a void feels like, so to speak. Like Uncle Dre alluded to, there was a void left by a certain person not being there. Are we somebody's void, or can we use our knowledge to help fill somebody or complete somebody? What are we doing to teach others? What are we doing to train others? How are we helping others become responsible? How are we teaching others to be accountable? We must do that now. And even if it's only one person. And like I said, it's a huge task, but our mindset now that the legacy I leave is based off of what I've accomplished and then what I teach others. So if we just remember that, action and motion, teaching and training, needs and wants, all of those things, as men, we can help other men be better men in what we do. So I thank you all for what you all have said tonight, what you all have inputted tonight. I know we had some technical difficulties getting everybody to stay on. I think we lost Mr. Simmons a little while ago, and he texted and said he was trying to get back on, but he couldn't. Each and every one of you has said something profound tonight, and I hope the audience that was listening and others that were watching learned from this that whichever one comes first in your life, accountability or responsibility, or the person that you are following to that's setting the example for you, you apply it to your life and you use it to be the best person that you can be. Anybody have anything to add to the conversation at all before we wrap this thing on up? No? Nothing? Okay. It is. Huh? Nothing. It is now 9:40. Well, I'm getting an echo right now. I'm sorry. Let me turn it off. Again, thank you all for joining tonight. Next month's call, I think it's going to be a new one. I'm coming up with a whole new program for next month. So you guys bear with me on the questions. I'm writing it as we speak. I don't even have a title for it yet. So it's going to be brand new. And you guys stick with me. I think the audience is loving what we do. And I thank you all for coming in tonight, spending time with me. If nobody has anything today, we're going to wrap it up. I'm your host for the XY Perspective, Marcus Bradley. We have Marcus Massey, Jesse Archie, Leonard Love, Andre Williams, and Tony Simmons. The panel, of course, is hanging tough. We thank everybody that was in the comments, and I'll try to reach out to you all. Gentlemen, I thank you again. Y'all have a good evening, and I will see you all next month. Thank you, guys.
See you.
Right now.